Yasuke arrived in Kyoto in 1581. His appearance caused a massive uproar in the city. People broke down the door to the temple he was staying in, just to see him. So many people stood on top of roofs to try and catch a glimpse, that the houses collapsed beneath them. All this couldn't escape the attention of a powerful man called Oda Nobunaga. He ordered Yasuke to meet him at Honno-Ji temple. It must have been an extremely uncomfortable experience for Yasuke. Not only did Oda refuse to believe that he was actually black, but he actually forced him to scrub himself down to prove he hadn't covered himself in ink. When Oda realized that Yasuke wasn't a fake, he became fascinated with him. Nobunaga became interested in his unique appearance, astonishing height, and incredible strength. But how did Yasuke even end up in Japan? It was 1570. He arrived into service of an Italian Jesuit missionary. 11 years passed for him in Japan, but was barely documented. It's when he met Nobunaga in 1581 that his life became truly unusual. Whereas Yasuke was a slave when he arrived, William Adams is a completely different story. William Adams was a wealthy sailor and the first Englishman to enter Japan. Yasuke was forced to enter Japan, but Adams chose to leave his wife and children behind to seek fame and fortune. 5 ships set off. 4 were destroyed, half the crew of the one remaining ship dead, and the survivors barely alive upon arrival. Yet the locals imprisoned him, believing him to be a pirate, and wanted him and his crew executed. In April, the year 1600, 23 sick and dying men of the original 100 sailors aboard Adams' ship landed on an unfamiliar island called Kyushu. They met with the local Japanese, but also with Portuguese Jesuit missionaries. The missionaries claimed that Adams and his crew were pirates and requested they be executed. The whole crew was arrested and put in prison in Osaka Castle, while the daimyo, Tokugawa Ieyasu, decided what to do with them. Their fate rested entirely in his hands. Luckily for them, Tokugawa was curious. Ieyasu spoke with Adams 3 times. Adams managed to impress him with his knowledge of shipbuilding and mathematics. Ieyasu denied the Jesuits' request for execution and hired Adams to build Western-style ships for him. Ships that Ieyasu found rather impressive. After meeting Nobunaga, Yasuke spent some time exploring Japan and met various warlords. At some point, Nobunaga approached him to employ him as a bodyguard, which is how Yasuke joined the samurai class. Nobunaga gave him his own house and a short katana. Yasuke likely learned to speak Japanese quite well, as Nobunaga enjoyed talking with him. In June 1582, Yasuke was with Nobunaga at Honno-Ji temple, where they had first met. Akechi Mitsuhide, a follower of Nobunaga, betrayed and attacked him. Yasuke fought to defend Nobunaga, but they were outnumbered and had no hope of victory. Nobunaga was forced to commit a form of ritual suicide known as seppuku. Yasuke escaped and went to join the forces of Oda's son, Oda Nobunaga, who was rallying men at Niho Castle to try and avenge Nobunaga. Yasuke fought with Nobunaga against Mitsuhide's forces. Outnumbered, he surely fought well, but victory was not theirs. Akechi captured Yasuke alive. We don't know what happened to Yasuke after this. Some sources claim that Mitsuhide felt Yasuke was not a samurai, and might have even felt he wasn't human. Perhaps because of this, he decided not to kill Yasuke, but to send him back to the Jesuits. After this, not much is known about Yasuke's life. Mitsuhide was unable to keep his allies loyal and was hunted down by the remaining 2 samurai of the Big Three, Tokugawa Ieyasu and Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Jumping ahead to the 1600s, Ieyasu considers Adams too valuable to leave the country. He forbids him from leaving and doesn't let him see his family. Naturally, Adams wasn't happy. He wanted to see his family, and being separated was painful. To satisfy him, Nobunaga made Adams a samurai and gave him the name Miura Anjin. Nobunaga claimed that William Adams had died and so now was free from his shackles. Despite this, Adams didn't forget about his family and continued to send money to his new widow in England. Anjin gained so much trust and respect from Ieyasu that he became his top advisor on Western issues. Trade with Western nations flourished as a result. Anjin's lavish lifestyle would have been enough to make other samurai jealous. He was given a large estate with 90 slaves and servants. After arriving in Japan, weak and awaiting execution, he managed to become one of the most influential followers in Japan and a wealthy samurai. Anjin Miura died aged 55 in Hirado, Kyushu, Japan. Yasuke and William Adams, 2 of the most interesting and unusual samurai from history. Neither one chose to become a samurai, but they both became legends.